Okay. This is my review for this week. Record I'm doing this week is probably my favorite album of all time. It might not be. It's definitely my favorite Led Zeppelin album. And in case you haven't heard by the song that's playing, it's No Quarter. This is Houses of the Holy. And this is one of the only records I can actually remember where I was, what I was drinking, and just what I was doing. Like, I remember I was 14 when I first heard this album. I was in the back of my parents' van driving back from Clarksville, Tennessee, and I was drinking some really fucking crappy Starbucks coffee, and it was a really crappy day out, and but I had this on. It's kind of like the only good part of the ride. The coffee sucked. It was raining. Our air conditioning was broken. If you've ever been in Tennessee during the summer, you want air conditioning. But anyways, this is the fifth album. This is after their first four albums, which were all consecutively titled Led Zeppelin 1 through 4. And this kind of goes in the same tradition as the fourth album went, which is, kind of combining the blues and the folk influence, except there's a lot less blues on this record. Not so much blues as there's world music. Like, the world music on it starts off with The Song Remains the Same, which, it starts off with this really, I guess probably a good word for this would be lush guitar riff by Jimmy Page, and then the rhythm section just kicks in. And the thing that, one of the reasons why Led Zeppelin is, every musician in the band was just on top of it. I mean, John Bonham is probably the most influential drummer in rock, other than maybe Keith Moon. And, John Paul Jones, easily the most underrated member of the band. I'm a bass player. John Paul Jones, hands down, my favorite bass player. Jimmy Page, definitely one of the best rock guitar players, and Robert Plant. I think this is probably the best record Robert Plant ever did with Led Zeppelin, because he kind of, he adapts, more so than the instrumentals, he adapts himself to to all the different styles that they're playing on this. He still in the crunge, he does that kind of the funk thing, and he does reggae and Jamaica, but I heard that, whenever they recorded The Song Remains the Same, they had to speed up the track so he could get his voice, so he could hit all those notes, which I don't know how he played that live, but either way, The Song Remains the Same or No Quarter is probably my favorite song on this album, one of those two. Then after The Song Remains the Same, you get the Rain song, which is probably my second favorite Led Zeppelin acoustic, or second or third after Ramble On or That's the Way. Then I like Over the Hills and Far Away, but it's not their best. A lot of people say it's one of the best. I think that they have way better songs than that. After that, you get the Crunge, which, I like the opening bass line to it. It's not my favorite song in the album, but I really like it. It's definitely different for Zeppelin. You could definitely tell that they weren't, still on the whole blues thing. And then after that, you get Dancing Days, which is one of the, it's one of the harder rock, it's one of the hard rock songs from the album, but it's also really kind of trippy sounding with that Indian riff that they have going there. After that, you have Jamaica, for a while, I hated that song. I couldn't stand it. But after I got really into it, this album, I tolerated it, and now I even kind of like it. It's still not my favorite song on this album, but then after Jamaica, you get No Quarter, which I think is kind of an awkward transition, but it pulls off anyway. No Quarter is this is the album where they managed to do so many different, they managed to cover almost every mood in the spectrum, except for maybe anger, because I never really thought of Led Zeppelin as being an angry band. But anyway, like in this album, they managed to be peaceful. They managed to have some really sad songs, some really upbeat songs. But No Quarter is kind of like this whole epiphany of this, though. Like, it's just, epitome, sorry. It's like, 'cause they actually managed to be creepy in this. And, you never think of Zeppelin as being creepy, except in maybe the Battle of Evermore, and even then it was kind of a little off kilter. But with John Paul Jones playing that electric piano stuff, and kind of the creepy Jimmy Page's creepy, distorted guitar riff right there. And that's another point in this where Robert's voice is just weird, because he has this really nasally, almost Ozzy Osbourne sounding thing kind of going, and you can't really get too many moves with the drums, but they're still good. And then after that you get The Ocean, which it's a really great album closer. I mean, I really like the fact that Robert Plant wrote it about his daughter instead of just, writing another stereotypical blues song about getting laid. I need to get a new copy of this album. I think that Led Zeppelin for Houses of the Holy and Physical Graffiti were kind of the creative peak. Because after that, they put out Presence, which is my least favorite Led Zeppelin album. They put out Into the Outdoor, which, contrary to a lot of fans, I think the Into the Outdoor is a really good album. It's not everyone's favorite, but it's not my favorite, but I like the album more than some other people do. So how would I score this album? 9.7 out of 10. Like I said, it's one of my favorite albums ever. One of the first albums I ever remember really getting into. I've been listening to it for about 4 years. I'm 18. I've been listening to it for 4 years. And it's, never gets old, really. It's a consistent album, so I'd give it a 9.7 out of 10. If you happen to watch this, please comment. Thanks.